You were brought here on purpose. Not by chance. Not because the algorithm decided to feed you something random. Not because you were scrolling at the right second. Heaven does not waste movement. It does not waste attention. And it did not waste the moment that pulled you into these words. Something inside you has been holding its breath for a long time. A quiet ache. A waiting that no one else fully saw. That waiting is not ignored. It is not overlooked. It is not forgotten. The door you thought had sealed shut was never locked against you. It was held closed until the exact hour heaven had already marked. That hour has arrived. You feel the shift already, even if you cannot name it yet. A restlessness that is not anxiety. A pressure that is not heaviness. A sense that the ground under your feet has been quietly rearranged while you were still looking at the same walls. You did not invent this feeling. You did not manufacture the hope that keeps rising even when the evidence looks thin. That hope was placed. It was planted. It was guarded. And the one who planted it has not abandoned the seed. This is not the result of your striving. This is not the payoff of perfect performance. This is not a reward you earned by never breaking. You broke in places no one saw. You doubted in rooms where no one was listening. You almost walked away more times than you will admit out loud. And still you are here. Still the call found you. Still the timing held. Heaven does not wait for perfection. It waits for the appointed moment, and the appointed moment does not require you to be finished becoming. It only requires you to be present when the rearrangement is complete. Look at the path behind you. The delays that felt cruel. The closed doors that felt personal. The relationships that ended without explanation. The opportunities that vanished just as you reached for them. None of that was random loss. None of it was wasted suffering. Every closed door was a redirection. Every delay was a protection. Every silent season was a preparation of the ground so that when the breakthrough finally broke open, it would not destroy what it came to bless. Heaven was rearranging while you were waiting. Heaven was moving pieces you could not see while you were staring at the pieces that would not move. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not the one who missed the window. The window was never open for you until now. Others may have run ahead. Others may have seemed to receive what you asked for years ago. That does not mean you were passed over. It means the assignment on your life required a different sequence. A different depth of readiness. A different kind of strength that only forms in the dark. The strength you carry now was forged in the places where nothing seemed to change. That strength is not ordinary. It is the kind that can hold what is about to be released. The air around you has shifted. You may not have language for it yet, but your spirit already knows. The old weight that used to sit on your chest at night has begun to lift. The questions that used to circle without answers have started to quiet. Not because every detail has been explained, but because the one who holds the details has stepped closer. You are not imagining the nearness. You are not fabricating the sense that something is about to turn. That sense is confirmation. It is the inner witness agreeing with what heaven has already decided. You have been chosen for this hour. Not chosen because you are flawless. Chosen because the plan required someone who would keep standing after the shaking. Someone who would still believe after the silence. Someone who would still show up after the disappointment. That someone is you. The call was never about the crowd. It was always about the one who would recognize the voice when it finally spoke with this kind of clarity. You recognized it. That is why you are still reading. That is why these words feel familiar even if you have never heard them spoken this way before. Heaven does not scramble. Heaven does not rush at the last minute. Heaven does not discover a problem and then invent a solution. What is unfolding for you was set in motion long before you felt the first pang of waiting. The rearrangement began in seasons you thought were empty. The pieces were moved in nights you thought no one was watching. The breakthrough you have been asking for has already been prepared. The only thing that remained was the timing, and the timing has landed. There is a time for everything. A season for every activity under heaven. You have read those words before. They sit in Ecclesiastes, quiet and steady, refusing to hurry. The book does not say there is a time for some things and then endless waiting for the rest. It says there is a time for every matter. Every purpose. Every turning. The season of delay was one of those times. The season of silence was one of those times. And the season of rearrangement is one of those times. You are standing in it now. Not approaching it. Not hoping for it. Standing in it. The vision is for an appointed time. It speaks of the end and does not lie. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. Habakkuk carried that word when the answer seemed slow. The same word holds for you. The lingering was never abandonment. The lingering was the space required for everything to be set in place so that when the vision arrived it would not be partial. It would not be fragile. It would not collapse under the weight of what it was meant to carry. The appointed time is not a vague future. It is this window. These hours. This stretch of days that have already begun to lean in your direction. You can feel the acceleration if you pay attention. Conversations that used to go nowhere now carry a different tone. Opportunities that felt distant have started to move closer without you forcing them. People who once overlooked you have begun to notice something they cannot explain. That is not coincidence. That is alignment. That is the result of heaven rearranging the environment around the one who is being prepared in private. The public shift always follows the private work. You did the private work. Even when it felt like nothing. Even when it felt like you were only surviving. The work was being done in you and around you at the same time. Do not despise the pace that brought you here. The slow seasons taught you how to hear. The closed seasons taught you how to wait without quitting. The painful seasons taught you how to hold on to a word when the evidence contradicted it. All of that was training for what is about to open. The breakthrough is not coming to a version of you that is untested. It is coming to the version that has already learned how to stand. That is why the timing had to be precise. Release it too early and the weight would crush. Hold it too long and the hope would starve. Heaven measured the moment. Heaven held the line. Heaven has now released the rearrangement into visibility. You have asked for this. You have prayed for this. You have cried for this in the quiet when no one else was awake. Heaven heard every request. Heaven recorded every tear. And heaven has already moved the pieces that needed to move so that the answer would not arrive incomplete. The breakthrough is not a single event floating somewhere in the future. It is the visible result of an invisible work that has already been finished. What you are about to walk into has already been prepared. The only remaining step is your recognition that the season has changed. This is the hour when the old maps stop working. The strategies that used to keep you safe will not be the strategies that carry you forward. The relationships that used to define your belonging may shift. The routines that used to give you a sense of control may need to loosen. That is not loss. That is the natural result of heaven rearranging everything that stood between you and the open door. Some things had to be moved out of the way. Some voices had to grow quieter. Some paths had to close so that the true path could finally become clear. You are not being stripped. You are being positioned. The core of what is happening is simple and absolute. Heaven rearranged everything before the breakthrough you have been waiting for arrived. Not after. Not during. Before. The work was completed in the unseen while you were still living in the seen delay. The doors that needed to open were already unlocked. The resources that needed to gather were already being gathered. The people who needed to align were already being positioned. The opposition that needed to be restrained was already under restraint. All of it happened ahead of the moment you are now entering. That is why the breakthrough will not feel like a scramble. It will feel like a recognition. Like walking into a room that was prepared for you long before you reached the threshold. You are not waiting for heaven to start working. Heaven already worked. You are waiting for the manifestation of what has already been decided. The manifestation has a time. That time is now. The rearrangement was thorough. Nothing was left to chance. Nothing was left half-finished. The same sovereignty that numbered your days also ordered the sequence of events that would bring you to this exact threshold. You did not arrive early. You did not arrive late. You arrived when the stage was set. Feel the weight of that. The years of unanswered questions were not unanswered because the answer did not exist. They were unanswered because the answer required a stage that had not yet been built. The stage is built. The lights are coming up. The audience you were meant to stand before is already being assembled, even if some of them do not yet know why they are being drawn. You are the reason. The assignment on your life is the reason. The breakthrough that has already been arranged is the reason. Do not shrink from the size of what is coming. Do not talk yourself back into the smaller version of the story. The smaller version was the waiting room. The waiting room is closing. What opens next will require the full measure of what has been formed in you. The courage that was tested. The faith that was refined. The endurance that was stretched. All of it was preparation for a release that will not be partial. Heaven does not rearrange everything only to deliver something small. The scale of the preparation matches the scale of the promise. You have felt the nearness of it for weeks, maybe months. A sense that something was about to shift even when nothing visible had changed. That sense was accurate. It was the spirit in you recognizing the movement of the spirit around you. The rearrangement was never loud. It did not announce itself with fireworks. It moved in quiet decisions, quiet redirections, quiet protections. Now the quiet work is becoming visible. Now the pieces that were moved in secret are locking into place in the open. You will see it. You will walk into it. You will know that none of it was accidental. The breakthrough you have been waiting for is not a maybe. It is not a possibility that depends on perfect conditions. It is a settled matter that has already been arranged. The only thing required of you in this hour is to stop arguing with the timing and start agreeing with the reality that heaven has already finished the hidden work. Agree with it in your thoughts. Agree with it in your words. Agree with it in the way you carry yourself when the old doubts try to rise. The doubts are late. The rearrangement is complete. The door is no longer closed. You are standing at the edge of what was prepared for you. The edge is not a place of fear. It is a place of recognition. Everything that had to be moved has been moved. Everything that had to be aligned has been aligned. Everything that had to be restrained has been restrained. The breakthrough is not on its way. The breakthrough has already been set in motion by a hand that does not miss. And the hand that set it in motion is the same hand that brought you to these words at this exact hour so that you would know the season has changed. The loneliness that settled over you for so long was never proof that you had been left behind. It was the quiet room where heaven taught you to hear without the noise of constant approval. Rejection that stung deeper than you let anyone know was never a verdict on your worth. It was a filter. It removed the voices that would have diluted the assignment when the real weight arrived. Delay that stretched past every reasonable expectation was never punishment. It was the long corridor that forced the deeper roots to form so the coming fruit would not topple the tree. What looked like loss was investment. What felt like being overlooked was protection from stages that were not yet ready for the version of you that was still being formed. The people who walked away did not take your future with them. They simply cleared the space so the ones who belong in the next chapter could enter without competition. The opportunities that closed in your face did not slam shut because you were unworthy. They closed because something better had already been marked for the exact moment when your capacity matched the size of the promise. You spent nights replaying conversations that ended wrong. You carried the weight of being misunderstood by people who should have known better. Family who saw only the surface. Friends who measured you by seasons that no longer define you. That misunderstanding was not wasted pain. It trained you to stop explaining yourself to every critic and start resting in the only opinion that actually governs your steps. The isolation that sometimes felt like exile was the workshop. In that workshop the old need for constant reassurance was slowly burned away. What remains is a steadiness that does not require an audience to stay standing. The seasons when nothing moved on the outside were the seasons when everything critical was moving on the inside. Character was being pressed into shape. Discernment was being sharpened. The ability to wait without becoming bitter was being installed. Those are not soft skills. Those are the exact tools required to steward what is about to open. Without them the breakthrough would have arrived and found no one prepared to hold it. Heaven refused to risk that. So the waiting continued until the vessel was ready. You were not being rejected by life. You were being reserved. Reserved for a table that had not yet been set. Reserved for a door that had not yet been unlocked. Reserved for a company of people who would recognize the oil on you without needing a resume. The pain of being set apart was real. The tears were real. The questions that rose at 3 a.m. were real. None of that disqualifies the preparation. All of it was part of the preparation. The same hand that allowed the isolation is the hand that is now ending it. I remember the night the questions got too heavy. It was a small apartment with the window open because the air inside felt thick. The only light came from the street outside, cutting a thin line across the floor. My phone sat face down on the table. I had just ended a call that left more silence than answers. Family voices still echoed in my head, the ones that meant well and still somehow missed the entire point of what I was carrying. Tears came without drama, just steady and quiet, the kind that make your chest ache more than your eyes. I asked God why the timeline kept stretching. I questioned his timing out loud in that empty room, voice low so the neighbors would not hear. I told him I was tired of looking like the one who never quite arrived. The resolution did not come as a booming voice. It came as a slow settling in my chest, a reminder that the delay had protected me from a version of success that would have cost me the very thing I was being shaped to carry. The tears dried. The room stayed the same. But something inside the waiting shifted that night, and I knew the isolation had not been abandonment. That same protection has been operating over you. The delays that frustrated you were never random. They were the space required for the deeper work. The rejection that cut you was never final. It was the clearing of ground so that what remains can support the weight of what is coming. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are the product of a process that refused to rush what needed time. Joseph spoke to his brothers after years of betrayal and prison and said that what they meant for harm, God meant for good. The same truth covers the places where people mishandled you. Their intention does not get the final word. The intention of heaven does. What looked like a series of closed doors was actually a series of redirections that kept you from settling for less than the original design. The pain was real, but the purpose was greater. You have waited longer than most people understand. The book of Isaiah records the word that says God is doing a new thing, and now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? He is making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. The wilderness seasons of your life were never the destination. They were the place where the new path was being cut while you were still learning how to walk without the old maps. The streams are already moving under the dry ground. You will see them break the surface soon enough. Do not measure the value of the process by how long it took. Measure it by the strength it produced. Psalm 27 tells you to wait for the Lord, to be strong and take heart and wait for the Lord. Waiting is not passive. Waiting is active trust that keeps its posture even when the calendar keeps turning without visible change. You have done that kind of waiting. The strength it built in you is not soft. It is the kind that can carry responsibility without collapsing under it. Jeremiah carried a word for people who felt abandoned in a foreign land. The plans were for welfare and not for evil, to give a future and a hope. That word was spoken into a season of exile, not a season of ease. Your own seasons of feeling out of place were not evidence that the plans had failed. They were the context in which the plans were being protected until the right soil appeared. The future was never cancelled. It was simply timed. Romans declares that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who are called according to his purpose. All things. Not only the pleasant things. The lonely nights. The misunderstood seasons. The closed opportunities. All of them were gathered into the same purpose. None of them were wasted. None of them get to write the ending. The purpose that called you is the same purpose that is now bringing the rearrangement into the open. The reframe is not a soft comfort. It is a hard truth. Everything that felt like it was against you is being used for you. The isolation refined your hearing. The rejection clarified your identity. The delay deepened your roots. The misunderstanding taught you to stop performing for the wrong audience. All of it was preparation. All of it was protection. And all of it has reached its completion so that the breakthrough already arranged can finally be revealed without anything left unfinished in the vessel that is meant to carry it. You are not the sum of the years that felt empty. You are the product of the work that happened in those years. The pain did not define you. It refined you. The waiting did not diminish you. It prepared you. And the same sovereignty that allowed every difficult season is the sovereignty that has already finished the hidden rearrangement so that nothing needed for the next chapter is missing. The calm that has settled over the process is about to give way to something stronger. You will not simply feel a shift in your spirit. You will carry a different weight in your shoulders when you wake. The old heaviness that used to sit behind your eyes will lift, and the way you look at ordinary mornings will change. Your voice will steady in conversations that used to leave you small. Your decisions will come faster because the second-guessing that once ruled the room has been ordered to leave. This is not surface adjustment. This is the kind of change that rewrites how you occupy space. You will walk into rooms differently. The posture that used to apologize for taking up room will straighten without effort. People who knew the earlier version of you will notice before you say a word. Some will lean in. Some will step back. Both reactions are part of the same movement. The frequency around you is rising, and anything that cannot match it will either transform or fall away. You are not required to force the separation. The separation is already built into the escalation that has begun. The breakthrough already arranged is not content to stay invisible. It is pressing outward now, pressing into your schedule, your body, your conversations, the very air you breathe when you step outside. Sleep will start to restore instead of merely interrupting the exhaustion. Appetite for the old comforts that numbed the waiting will fade. A clearer hunger will take its place, a hunger for alignment, for the next instruction, for the open door that no longer needs to be forced. Your hands will stop trembling around decisions that once felt too large. The trembling was never weakness. It was the body registering the size of what was coming. Now the size has arrived, and the body is being strengthened to match it. This escalation is physical because the preparation was thorough. Heaven does not rearrange only the invisible realm and leave the visible untouched. The same hand that moved the hidden pieces is now moving the pieces you can touch. Contracts. Conversations. Timelines. Health. Provision. The list is not theoretical. It is already in motion. You will see evidence in the next stretch of days that does not require interpretation. It will be plain. It will be measurable. It will leave no room for the old argument that nothing ever changes for you. I was sitting in a rented car in a grocery store parking lot when the doubt hit hardest. Rain tapped the roof in an uneven rhythm. The engine was off. Bags of food sat on the passenger seat, ordinary and heavy. I had just checked my bank balance on the phone and the number was lower than the bills waiting at home. The doubt was not dramatic. It was quiet and practical. I wondered out loud whether the calling had been real or whether I had simply talked myself into a story that was now running out of road. I sat there with both hands on the steering wheel, staring at the wet windshield, asking if I had missed some exit years earlier. The resolution did not come as a sudden deposit or a miraculous phone call. It came as a single clear sentence that rose up stronger than the rain: the provision is already assigned to the assignment, and the assignment has not been revoked. I started the car. The rain kept falling. But the question about whether the path was real lost its power that afternoon, and I drove home carrying groceries and a quieter certainty. That same certainty is settling over you now, only stronger. The escalation does not wait for perfect conditions. It creates them. The pressure you feel is not the old pressure of lack. It is the pressure of something larger moving into place. Your spirit already recognizes it. Your body is beginning to catch up. The days ahead will not feel like more of the same. They will feel like crossing a threshold that stays crossed. The word in Philippians says that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. The work was never paused. The work was never abandoned. What you called delay was the middle of a sentence that is now reaching its period. Completion is not a distant hope. Completion is the direction the current is already flowing. You have read in 2 Corinthians that we walk by faith, not by sight. The sight is about to catch up. The evidence that lagged behind the promise is accelerating. Faith prepared the ground. Now the visible harvest is pressing through the soil. You will not have to strain to believe what your eyes are beginning to confirm. Matthew records the instruction to seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. The seeking seasons of your life were not empty. They were the priority that kept the secondary things from becoming idols. Now the addition is in motion. The things that belong to the assignment are being drawn toward you without the old striving. The seeking prepared the capacity. The adding is the natural result. Deuteronomy declares that the Lord your God will make you the head and not the tail, and you will only move upward and never downward if you listen and obey. The upward movement has already been decreed over the life that stayed faithful in the hidden years. Upward does not mean easy. It means direction. The direction has shifted from survival to advance. You will feel it in the decisions that used to drain you and now energize you instead. Proverbs states that the path of the righteous is like the morning sun, shining ever brighter till the full light of day. The early light of your journey was real even when it felt dim. The brightness is increasing. The full light is not a future possibility. It is the trajectory already locked in. Each day will carry more clarity than the one before. The confusion that once clouded simple choices is being burned off by the same light that is rising over the entire assignment. The escalation is not random intensity. It is measured increase. The same wisdom that timed the waiting is timing the acceleration. You will not be overwhelmed by the speed. You will be matched to it. Strength is being added in the same measure that responsibility is being released. The physical change in how you carry yourself is the outward sign of an inward completion that has already taken place. You are not becoming someone new. You are becoming the someone the preparation always intended. The claims are absolute because the source is absolute. You will not merely hope for different outcomes. You will live inside different outcomes. The old cycle of almost and not yet is breaking. The new cycle of assigned and released is taking its place. Your calendar will start to reflect it. Your conversations will start to reflect it. Your reflection in the mirror will start to reflect it. The difference is not cosmetic. It is structural. The foundation was reset in the quiet years. Now the structure is rising in plain view. Keep watching the small shifts. They are not small. They are the first visible edges of a much larger movement that has already been finished in the unseen. The escalation you are feeling is the sound of that movement crossing from hidden to open. Nothing required for the next chapter is missing. Everything required is already in motion. And the motion is increasing. When you wake tomorrow, do not reach for the old script that starts the day with dread. Sit on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds and speak the truth out loud before your feet touch the floor. Say that the rearrangement is already finished. Say that the motion has increased. Say that you are walking into a day that has been prepared. Keep it simple. Keep it short. The point is not eloquence. The point is agreement. Your spirit needs to hear your voice line up with what heaven has already decided before the noise of the day begins. In the kitchen or the bathroom or wherever the ordinary routine starts, refuse the automatic complaints that used to set the tone. The coffee that tastes the same, the mirror that shows the same face, the calendar that still holds unfinished tasks, none of those things get to define the atmosphere. You set the atmosphere by the words you choose while your hands are busy with small things. Speak life over the next 12 hours. Speak protection over the conversations that are coming. Speak clarity over the decisions that will knock. This is not positive thinking. This is alignment. The practical act of choosing different words in the first hour rewires the rest of the day. At work the pressure will still show up. Emails will still demand answers. People will still bring problems that feel larger than the time available. When the familiar tightness starts in your chest, pause for one full breath before you answer. In that breath remind yourself that the outcome is not resting on your ability to force everything into place. The hidden work has already been done. Your job is to move with the motion that is already increasing, not to generate the motion from scratch. Answer the email. Handle the problem. But do it from the posture of someone who knows the larger arrangement is complete. The quality of your presence will change even if the tasks stay the same. When a colleague or a client pushes in a way that used to trigger the old defensiveness, try a different response. Lower your voice instead of raising it. Ask one clarifying question instead of launching into explanation. The old pattern was survival. The new pattern is stewardship. You are no longer protecting a fragile position. You are occupying an assigned one. That difference will show in the way you hold eye contact and the way you end conversations that used to drain you for hours afterward. At home the same principle applies. Family members will still bring their own weather into the room. Old tensions may still surface. When they do, you do not have to absorb every emotion as if it were your responsibility to fix it on the spot. Listen fully. Respond honestly. Then release what is not yours to carry. The breakthrough already arranged does not require you to become the emotional manager of every person under your roof. It requires you to stay steady while the larger movement continues. Steadiness is practical. It looks like not escalating the small argument. It looks like choosing the kind word when the sharp one is ready on your tongue. It looks like going to bed without rehearsing every frustrating moment of the day. In ordinary conversations, at the store, on the phone, in the hallway, practice brevity when the old habit was over-explaining. You do not need to justify the peace that is settling on you. You do not need to convince anyone that things are shifting. Let the shift speak for itself through the calm you carry. If someone asks how you are doing, answer with truth that does not open the door to the entire history of the struggle. A simple, "I am steady," or "things are aligning," is enough. The people meant to walk with you into the next chapter will recognize the change without a full briefing. The ones who need the old version of you to stay small will feel the difference and adjust or step back. Both outcomes are acceptable. When difficulty arrives, and it will, because the escalation does not erase every challenge, meet it with a different first move. Instead of the automatic spiral into worst-case planning, stop and name one thing that has already been rearranged in your favor. It can be small. A conversation that went better than expected last week. A bill that was covered in a way you did not foresee. A night of sleep that actually restored you. Naming the evidence anchors you in the larger reality while you deal with the present pressure. Then take the next practical step. Make the call. Send the message. Sit with the discomfort without letting it rewrite the story of what heaven has finished. Guard your evenings. The hours after work used to be when the second-guessing grew loudest. Replace some of that mental replay with a short walk, a quiet room, or a simple written list of 3 things that moved forward that day. The list does not have to be dramatic. Movement is movement. Recording it trains your attention to notice the increase instead of scanning only for what is still missing. Over time the scanning habit weakens. The noticing habit strengthens. That is practical transformation. If anxiety rises in the middle of the night, do not fight it with endless reasoning. Sit up. Put your feet on the floor. Speak the same short agreement you used in the morning. Then lie back down. The body needs the signal that you are not abandoning the truth just because the dark hours feel long. Consistency in these small practices is more powerful than occasional intense effort. The rearrangement is complete. Your daily cooperation with that fact is what allows the visible increase to keep accelerating. I stood in the back of a nearly empty church building on a weekday afternoon when the doubt came in its sharpest form. The chairs were stacked against the wall. Sunlight fell across the scuffed floor in long rectangles. I had gone there to pray because the apartment felt too small for the questions. The specific fear was that I had misheard the entire direction of my life and was now too far down the wrong road to turn around without destroying everything. I sat on the lowest step of the platform and told God I needed a clearer sign than the ones I had already dismissed. The resolution arrived without thunder. A janitor I had never met walked through, nodded once, and said, "You're in the right place," before continuing to the supply closet. Ordinary words. Ordinary voice. Yet they landed with a weight that settled the fear. I stayed on the step another 10 minutes, then left with the quiet knowledge that the path had not been a mistake. That same quiet knowledge is available to you in the middle of ordinary days. You do not need dramatic confirmation to keep cooperating with what has already been finished. The practical steps are enough. Morning agreement. Steady presence at work. Measured responses at home. Short honest conversations. Anchoring in evidence when difficulty hits. Guarding the evening hours. These are not small disciplines. They are the daily expression of a life that has accepted the rearrangement as complete. The motion is still increasing. The small shifts you have already noticed are only the beginning of what will become visible in the rhythm of regular days. Keep taking the next plain step. Keep speaking the agreement. Keep releasing what is not yours to carry. The larger movement does not require you to become someone else. It requires you to practice, in concrete ways, the truth that everything needed has already been put in place. The days ahead will reveal more of that placement. Your part is to walk through them awake, steady, and aligned with the finished work. The increase is no longer subtle. It is breaking into the open with force that cannot be mistaken for coincidence or mood. Your body will register it first. The tightness that used to live between your shoulder blades will release in a single stretch of days and stay released. The shallow breathing that accompanied every hard decision will deepen without effort. Sleep will come heavier and leave you clearer. Appetite will reorder itself around strength instead of comfort. These are not poetic suggestions. These are the physical signatures of a life whose hidden preparation has reached its full weight and is now pressing outward through skin and bone and schedule. You will stand differently in doorways. You will enter conversations with a gravity that was not there 6 months ago. The old reflex to shrink when authority entered the room will be gone. In its place will be a settled readiness that does not need to announce itself. People will feel it before they understand it. Some will be drawn. Some will be unsettled. Neither reaction is your concern. The force moving through you is not asking for permission or consensus. It is simply arriving at full strength because the time of restraint has ended. The breakthrough already arranged will not tiptoe. It will claim space. Contracts will finalize in windows that once felt impossible. Money will move from directions you stopped watching. Relationships that were stuck in polite distance will either deepen into true alliance or dissolve without prolonged drama. Health reports will shift. Creative ideas that sat half-finished will suddenly demand completion and find the energy to finish. The calendar itself will begin to rearrange around the assignment instead of the other way around. This is the thunder. This is the moment the quiet work refuses to stay quiet any longer. Do not brace against the intensity. The intensity is the evidence that nothing was left incomplete in the preparation. Every lonely night, every closed door, every misunderstood season was load-bearing. Now the structure is standing and the weight it was built to carry is settling onto it. Your hands will stop shaking around the large decisions. Your voice will stop cracking when you speak the larger vision out loud. Your eyes will stop scanning for the next disappointment because the pattern of disappointment has been broken at the root. What rises now rises permanent. The atmosphere in your home will change density. Arguments that used to spiral will lose oxygen faster. Laughter will return without needing a special occasion. The sense of walking on eggshells around certain topics will lift because the fear that fed it has been evicted. Outside the home, the same density shift will follow you into offices, stores, highways, waiting rooms. You will notice that chaos has a harder time sticking to you. Drama will still exist in the world, but it will slide off the new surface that has formed around your life. That surface is not self-protection. It is the natural byproduct of a vessel that has been thoroughly prepared and is now being filled to capacity. I was on a late flight with the cabin lights dimmed when the deepest doubt of that season found me. The seatbelt light was off. Most passengers were asleep or staring at screens. My own screen was dark. The specific fear was that even if the promise was real, I had become too tired, too worn down by the years of holding on, to actually walk it out when it arrived. I stared at the small reading light above me and admitted under my breath that I was afraid the breakthrough would find a person too exhausted to receive it. The resolution did not come through a downloaded word or a sudden rush of energy. It came when the flight attendant paused beside my row, refilled a water cup I had not asked to be refilled, and said quietly, "You're going to be all right." She moved on. I sat with the cup in both hands and understood that the strength required for the next stretch would be supplied in the same measure as the assignment itself. The tiredness remained, but the fear that tiredness disqualified me did not. That same supply is already moving toward you at the level of force the moment requires. The hidden season is finished. The long quiet in which so much was shaped without visible proof has reached its end. What was formed in silence is now stepping into open view. The revealing has started. Evidence that needed no translation is beginning to surface in the ordinary fabric of your days. You will not have to strain to convince yourself that something has changed. The change will convince you by its sheer accumulation. Watch how quickly the old questions lose their grip. The ones that used to wake you at night and demand exhaustive answers will still appear, but they will sound thinner, farther away, less entitled to your full attention. In their place a different kind of knowing will settle, an unarguable sense that the major pieces have already been moved and the only remaining work is to walk forward through the doors that are now swinging open. Some of those doors will surprise you by how easily they yield. Others will require a firm push, but the push will be met with movement instead of the old resistance. The revealing will not be partial. It will not dribble out in cautious increments designed to keep you comfortable. It will arrive with the full authority of a process that was never in doubt. You will look back on the years of waiting and finally see the precise architecture of them, the way every closed opportunity protected a greater one, the way every rejection cleared space for alignment, the way every silent stretch deepened the capacity that is now being called upon. That backward clarity is itself part of the revealing. It removes the last traces of shame about how long it took and replaces them with sober gratitude for the thoroughness of the preparation. Keep your eyes open. The motion that has been increasing is now cresting into visibility. The physical changes in how you carry yourself, the atmospheric shifts in your home and work, the sudden acceleration of long-stalled matters, all of it is the sound of the hidden season giving way to the open one. Nothing that was promised has been revoked. Everything that was prepared is being released. And the release is not polite. It is thorough, physical, and already underway. Speak these words out loud right now. Not in your head. Out loud, even if the room is quiet and the only witness is the air around you. I am chosen. I am anointed. I am set apart for the assignment that has already been prepared. The rearrangement is finished. The breakthrough is released. I receive it. Say them again if you need to. Let the sound of your own voice carry the agreement. Do not rush the sentences. Let each one land. Feel the weight of the words in your mouth and the shift they create in your chest. This is not performance. This is alignment. The same voice that has been speaking to you through these words is now waiting to hear you answer back in the first person. Did you feel that shift? The quiet confirmation that moves through the body when truth is spoken and received. The slight settling in the shoulders. The way the breath deepens without effort. The sense that something locked has turned. That is the receive it moment. It is not emotional hype. It is the spirit and the body agreeing together that the hidden work is complete and the open season has begun. Stay here a few more seconds. Do not hurry past it. Let the declaration finish its work in you. You have spent long enough waiting for external proof before you would fully agree. Today the agreement comes first. The proof will follow, but the agreement is the doorway. You have just walked through it. The old hesitation that used to rise whenever the promise felt too large has been answered by the sound of your own voice. That sound is recorded. Heaven heard it. The atmosphere around your life registered it. Nothing is the same as it was 30 seconds before you spoke. Now receive the blessing that belongs to this hour. Over your provision, the resources required for the next stretch of the assignment are already released. Lack no longer gets to write the story of your days. Doors of supply that stayed shut for years are swinging open without the old striving. What you need will meet you at the point of obedience, not at the point of panic. The same hand that rearranged everything has also arranged the provision that matches the size of what you are stepping into. Over your relationships, the people who belong in this chapter are being drawn into place. Alignments that felt delayed are accelerating. Connections that drained you are losing their grip. Family ties that carried old tension are being given room to heal or to settle into healthier distance. You will no longer have to force belonging. The right voices will recognize the oil on you and respond. The wrong ones will quietly exit without prolonged warfare. Over your health, strength is returning to places that grew tired under the weight of waiting. Sleep will restore. Energy will match the demands of the open doors. The body that carried you through the hidden years is being refreshed for the visible ones. Chronic heaviness is lifting. Clarity of mind is increasing. You will notice the difference in how you wake and how you move through ordinary hours. Over your purpose, the assignment is no longer theoretical. It is active. The gifts that sat partially used are being called into full operation. Influence is expanding in the exact spheres you were prepared for. You will not have to chase significance. Significance will meet you on the path of obedience. The years of preparation were not wasted. They were the exact training required for the weight you are now authorized to carry. Over your peace of mind, the circling questions that once stole rest are losing their authority. A deeper quiet is settling underneath the remaining uncertainties. You will still face decisions, but the torment that used to accompany them is being replaced by steady knowing. The mind that stayed vigilant through long silence is now allowed to rest in the finished work. Anxiety no longer gets the final vote. Peace does. Receive all of it. Not as distant wishes, but as present realities already set in motion. The blessing is not waiting for perfect conditions. It is landing on the life that has just agreed out loud with the truth. Go in peace. Go in power. The same authority that rearranged every hidden piece is now guarding every open step. You do not walk forward alone. You walk forward accompanied by the full weight of a process that was never in doubt. The days ahead will confirm what your spirit has already accepted. Keep the declaration close. Return to it when the old doubts try to rise. Speak it again if you need to. The shift you felt is real, and it will keep expanding. As an act of faith, type the word Amen in the comments right now. Not as a casual response. As a seal on what you have received. Let that single word stand as your public agreement with the private work heaven has finished. You were born for this moment, chosen one. God bless you.